Hello and welcome back to another episode of Play and Learn. My name is Kathleen and I'd like to say Dia Gowit and Falcha. Those are Irish words. Dia Gowit means hello and Falcha means welcome. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you came to see me this week. We'll be reading a story called The Beggarman. Are you ready to jump in? Let's do it. The Beggarman. The Fianna were preparing to set out for a day's hunting. They had camped overnight at the hill of Howth bin Adir. "This will be a good day," said Conan Mowell. "I feel well, so I will run fast. In fact, today I will run faster than anyone anywhere." All the Fianna laughed, because Conan was short and rather fat. Suddenly, a voice spoke. It seemed to come from the brush nearby. "Fast? You run fast? Rubbish. No one can outrun me." With that, a strange-looking sight appeared from the bushes and stood before the Fianna. It was an old beggarman, dressed in a long, tattered coat that reached the ground. On his feet, he wore enormous boots that were so caked with mud that he could barely lift his feet to walk. While this was happening, no one noticed a ship sailing into the bay, nor had they noticed the warrior who had jumped ashore and was striding across the beach towards them. As he walked, his golden helmet glistened in the sunlight, and his purple cloak blew out behind him. The Fianna were taken by surprise. "Welcome," said Fionn, the leader of the Fianna. But before they could say anything else, the warrior stretched out his arm, pointed to the Fianna, and declared, "I offer a challenge. Choose your swiftest runner to race against me. The winner shall have gold, horses, and the chariots of Ir." "Cease McRonan is our fastest runner," replied Fionn, "but he is away in Tara. The race must take place now," said the warrior. "In that case," replied the beggarman, "I will accept your challenge. How far had you in mind?" "I never race less than 60 miles. "Fine," said the beggarman. "If Fionn will give us 2 horses, I suggest that we ride the distance today and race back tomorrow." The Fianna were stunned. They could not understand how Fionn was allowing this to happen. Early next morning, the warrior woke the beggarman. He was anxious to begin the race. "I would never dream of running this early. If you are in such a rush, you set off and I will follow you later," said the beggarman. And curling up, he fell asleep. When he finally woke, it was mid-morning. He set off to catch up with the warrior. What a sight he was, the tails of his long coat flapping in the wind behind him as he jumped and hopped but never ran. It wasn't long before he had caught up with the warrior. "We are halfway there now," said the beggarman. "Have you stopped to eat yet?" There was no answer, so he raced on ahead. "Well, I am hungry. I must eat," he muttered to himself. The bushes around were thick with ripe, juicy blackberries. The beggarman began to gobble them in fistfuls. By the time the warrior caught up with him, his coat and face were purple with blackberry juice. "The tails of your coat are caught up in the bush 10 miles back," snarled the warrior. "Oh dear," said the beggarman. "It would never do me to lose them." Running backwards, he found them, and with 3 long hops and a jump, caught up with the warrior again. Meanwhile, Fionn and the Fianna were waiting on top of the bin Adir. "Do you see anyone coming?" they asked each other. "I can see something in the distance," whispered Conan Mowell. At the sight of the beggarman, the Fianna gave a great cheer of joy and relief. But as they gathered round him, they heard a fearsome roar of the warrior as he approached with his sword drawn. He swung the blade of the sword at the beggarman, but when the Fianna looked, the warrior head was rolling by the beggarman's side. "Let that be a lesson to you," said the beggarman. "It's a lucky day for you that I'm feeling generous." With that, he reached down, picked up the head, and threw it back on the warrior's shoulders, where it landed back to front. "Thanks to you, my friend," said Fionn. "You have saved the honor of the Fianna, and I now know who you really are." Turning to his men, Fionn said, "This is the prince of the Tir na Nog. Once a year, he becomes human. I have enjoyed my time with you, but now I must return to my own people," said the beggarman. He raised his arms to wave, and as he did, his appearance changed, and there before them stood a tall, fair-haired prince. As they watched, a white mist surrounded him, and when it cleared, he had disappeared. leaving them alone in the Hill of Howth. I hope you enjoyed that story. I know I did. Be sure to tune in next week where we'll make a craft and learn a new word from the Irish language. But until then, it's time for me to say slán. That means goodbye in Irish. Slán! See you next time.